What is good, everybody? Welcome back to Blerd It Out. So we finally have One Piece back. It's been a little bit of a break here. We had Golden Week and then we had the break beforehand. Be back with 1114, and it's a pretty solid chapter, especially with the cliffhanger we were on last time with 1113. So of course we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about some of the seasonals I was talking about last time, and I actually have a collab I did not too long ago that I'm going to be uploading to both the main channel and the podcast channel. Of course, first we got to get a word from the sponsors. You are now listening to the Blerd Out podcast, which is available on your favorite podcast websites like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and more. Check the link in the description or search Blerd It Out wherever you podcast, and you will find greatness. Episodes are also uploaded on my main YouTube channel at Tyrant King Kuma and on the official podcast YouTube channel at Blerd It Out Podcast. And if you're not caught up with the most recent chapters or episodes, please note there will be spoilers ahead.
Oops. Spoilers.
Okay, so the chapter opens up with the pilgrimage cover story continuing. And two things about this cover story. Well, the cover story and then the title of the chapter. But basically what's going to happen is Yamato is taking a sword back to Yasue. Now it's Enma's shrine, which I believe is where they basically buried everyone from the Onigashima raid, where like Ashura Doji and Izo are buried. And I'm not familiar with this sword, specifically the sheath. I'm wondering if it's Yasue's sword that he had when he was a daimyo. But this basically means that Yamato is going to explore the entirety of Wano just to see what's going on, and at some point we should get some lore tidbits from the different places. It even gives us a map of like the path she's taking. Now the chapter itself is titled The Wings of Icarus, and if we know the story of Icarus, it's basically Icarus's father made them a pair of wings to escape a prison. Now these wings were made of wax, so what happens is Icarus flies too close to the sun, the wings melt, he falls in the sea and dies. And throughout the chapter, Vegapunk is here talking about what he's done exactly and why he thinks the world is going to sink. More or less, like it's still very vague. Like he monologues a bit. He doesn't really get straight to the point. It takes time. But the chapter relates because I believe Icarus's father is basically the ancient kingdom, the one that was wiped out in the Void Century, with Icarus being Vegapunk. So Vegapunk is basically recreating something he saw, but he really didn't heed the implications that would come with it. He kind of just was like, you have this thing, I'm going to make it. And only after making it did he realize the issues with what he's done. But let's get into the chapter. We'll eventually get to that, because we're still getting reveals. So everyone's reacting to the world sinking into the ocean news. I mean, we get Akainu just staring once again, doing nothing. A bunch of other Marines, we see Hina in there. Everyone's reacting. They go to Mogtown, which I think is pretty funny, considering how this was one of the areas where, you know, just the wild and over the top stuff was looked down upon. You know, we had Jaya, we had the Golden City basically being frowned upon, but like, you actually believe that kind of stuff. But you have this news here now, and everyone's like, nah, he's faking. Even though they know he's this worldwide genius, he's like, nah, it's not gonna happen. So it's fitting. We go to Water 7. We get Paulie and the rest of Galila reacting to the news. And they're even skeptical as well. Even with like Aqua Laguna and their city sinking, they're still skeptical, which I initially thought was kind of weird, because I'm like, it's currently happening to you. So how can you not picture it happening to the world? But I think it's still such a big scale that it's hard to fathom. We get Big Bad Dofi still chained up to the ground. They will not let this man up ever. This man is locked on the ground. And he talks about like the prison flooding. And apparently like they go over some things I think an earthquake took place that we really didn't get any info on. Unless I'm just forgetting something. Apparently there was an earthquake because Magellan's talking about how some of the cells have already flooded. Basically in response to the sea level rising because of a giant earthquake. And this is also odd because Magellan's sitting here watching Doflamingo, and a while back, a long time ago, Doflamingo mentioned that he would need someone down here keeping him alive because someone's going to try and kill him. And now we have Magellan actually down here watching him. Now I wonder if this is, because he also has a transponder snail here. So I think he's letting Doflamingo hear the reveal, the news. And I'm just wondering why all this is taking place. Because we keep getting glimpses of Dofi here, and we keep getting hints at things that are going to happen either to Dofi or to those in power. And this scene right here kind of cements that something must be happening if Magellan is actually down here. And Doflamingo even mentions that if the sea level is rising, then we should just go somewhere high up. And he obviously knows that, you know, the world leaders are living on top of the red line. He knows about the Listo dragons. He is one. So he's like, I wonder if there's a place we can all go that would survive the world sinking. We get a little shot of Fishman Island. They're reacting to the news. Skeptical as well. I think Fishman Island is one of the places that really wouldn't care one way or the other about what happens. If the sea level rises, if it doesn't, they're set. Their island is fine. Then we cut back to Egghead, and all the Marines around Egghead are like, oh, he's lying. He's capping. Which is insane because everyone trusts this man with the foremost technology that runs the world now. The Marines owe so much of what they have to Vegapunk. And so he goes and he makes this reveal. And then all of them are just like, nah, no way. He's lying. Like, the Marines are just so incompetent sometimes. If anybody had the potential to believe what he's saying, it should be them. Now, the Gorosei are freaking out. They go on full tilt and they said, just start killing everybody. If you sense some kind of life, kill it. Don't even worry about what it is. Which is insane. This makes me think that they are aware of what's happening here. Because they switched from, you know, let's try and pinpoint it, let's find it, let's turn it off, to kill everything, make sure this broadcast ends. So this is definitely information that they are either like aware of, or they had the idea of and just didn't have confirmation for some reason. York is zipping around with a weapon. I'm not entirely sure where she's going or what she plans to do with it. I know she talked about not racking up more sins, but I don't think we've gotten any clarity on that. And based on what Vegapunk is saying, he recently recorded this video. I initially thought that it was something he recorded like a while ago in the idea that he might get killed, but he recorded it very recently. It's like, because they're talking about the earthquake just happened. Because you have Smoothie reacting. She says, is he talking about today's earthquake? He says a few days from now. So he recorded this probably within this week. So like within, I'd say 3 to 4 days, he had recorded this. So I would assume he recorded this close to when he was telling Dragon that he's going to die. It must have been around the same time. Like, I thought this was a bigger contingency than it actually is. This is really recent. And as Vegapunk talks about what's happening, he talks about the earthquake happening and what the ramifications for that would be, which is the sea levels rising by 1 meter. And just by the sea levels rising, some places will become inhabitable. And as he says that, we get a panning shot of one of the places that has become inhabitable. We have people in boats. You can see the water level has raised, and it's up to like the balconies of some houses. So the effect has already taken place just like he predicted. We even get Long Ring Long Land in like one little panel of them just reacting. They don't even say anything, they don't even do anything, they're just reacting. He stopped by Aokiji Hasinoshu. They also seem lost, which goes into my theory that Blackbeard doesn't know as much as we might give him credit for. But I talked about that a little bit in the collab. Check out that video and you'll see what I'm talking about there. But Vegapunk basically says, if the earthquake doesn't happen, ignore what I'm saying. If it does, then you desperately need to listen to every word I say. And this also adds a little bit of insight to this, because had this message like popped off before the earthquake, there would have been so much backlash as to not believing it. Like, the fact that the earthquake happened as the sea rose gives a lot of credence to what he's saying. Had this not happened, it would have been so much easier to dismiss. So the timing is like chef's kiss, perfect. And he makes sure to mention that the earthquake is not a natural phenomenon. Something caused the earthquake. And I believe what he's hinting at is the mother flame, which is at the end of the chapter, is the cause of the earthquake. It's like, it's not a natural phenomenon because technically I caused it. And as he's talking, we get a panel of Saturn, who's basically going in berserk mode again, trying to get past the Straw Hats. He doesn't even care about Bonnie anymore. He's trying to get rid of the signal. So he's just eating shots, charging through them. Basically like, I'm out of here. I got things to do. And because they're still trying to make sure that none of the technology gets destroyed, they can't just blow anything up. They have to actually go there, find the source, and make sure that they keep everything else intact. Now, Saturn eventually reaches the room where the mother flame is being held, and it's this giant container with it looks like a little flame, like a little, if you think about One for All, the last Embers of One for All, it looks almost like that. But when you look at Saturn comparatively, it's like as big as his torso. So this is a pretty decent sized flame. And if you look at the imagery itself, and you compare it to, which a lot of people have done already, but you compare it to what NL was looking at in his cover story series, it's basically the same thing. Like, there's so much you can say that was foreshadowing, wasn't foreshadowing, was seen before, wasn't seen before. This is like a direct correlation between what we see in NL's story and what we're seeing here. So much so that we're probably going to have so many theory videos just pointing that out. Like, if you hadn't already seen Skypiea make a resurgence, you're going to see it this week. Guaranteed. But Saturn switches to his human form. He starts like smashing the computers and stuff. I honestly don't know why. Like, he goes in here and he kind of reacts to the mother flame. He's like almost in pain when he sees it. And he shouts, "Not yet." Like, he's acting so weird as soon as he came into this room. Because their goal is to kill the transponder snail. They want to kill the transmission. Why is he breaking things in here? Like, none of these things are snails. I mean, it's possible he's looking for the snail, but based on how at least Mars works, they can sense things with Haki pretty decently. There'd be no reason to smash up a machine unless he actually thought the snail was in there. And we also get the Iron Giant moving still. And they're trying to bring it down. They can't. It's basically invulnerable. And we have to remember that this is the ancient technology. So this is the egghead of the past. So the things that might work on it, or might work on, maybe technology that the pacifistas aren't gonna work on this guy. Now, the Iron Giant wasn't supposed to move unless it had the proper power source. And initially you would think that's the mother flame, but the mother flame has been here the whole time. And I believe the Iron Giant reacted when Luffy went Gear 5. So it might be the Drums of Liberation. It might be reacting to that the same way Zunisha does. We've yet to fully see what's happening there or what it's doing. Like, it hasn't made any attacks or anything. It's just moving forward. But we still gotta see where that's going. Moving further along, we got Mercury chasing down Dory, Bragi, and Luffy. They're still trying to move out, and it looks like Mercury is blowing fire. I don't think this is from the Buster Call. I think this is actually Mercury just blowing fire out of either out of his mouth, out of his nostrils. I can't really tell, to be honest, but it seems like it's flowing from Mercury. So they're quickly flooding out of there. And then we kind of get a pan back to Vegapunk. Talks a little bit more. We start getting close to void century, which is the stuff I want to hear. and it flashes to Celestials. And naturally, they're just like, tell them to shut up. We're not trying to hear this stuff. But the reaction of one particular noble, which I don't remember her name. I believe this is Charlos's mother. I think she was the one who was at the auction. But she says, the Void Century, what is he talking about? So I honestly wonder if the Celestial Dragons, it wouldn't be surprising, but I think they have little to no knowledge of A, what makes them Celestial Dragons, and B, what they came from. Like, they were literally just told, you are the top of the top, and they accepted it. No questions. Didn't worry about it. I'd be curious to see if she looks into this. Actually, I'm gonna look up her quick. Because it very well could just be like the design of some of the one, oh, here it is. Shalria. Saint Shalria. I think this is her. Don't know of any other celestial dragon that looks like this. But yes, I want to see more of what she's thinking on this and why she isn't reacting like the rest of them are. Vegapunk was on to talk about the poneglyphs being the only source of knowledge of the Void Century. And as he's talking, we get a pan of Saul just chilling, laughing, and listening. An unexpected check-in with Choo Choo and the mayor from Orangetown, who were all doing well. I see that Choo Choo has a little statue in the back and stuff. But they are pretty much clueless on any of this. She's reading a book. Like there's a little girl here reading a book about the old world. And the mayor's kind of just like, I don't know. Like they don't have a whole lot of insight. They're just looking into it. We get a little bit of Amazon Lily, just reaction shots. But we talk about, or Vegapunk talks about everyone being eradicated basically for looking into the Void Century, trying to decipher poneglyphs. Vegapunk straight up says, yeah, I studied it. I ignored every government basically request to not do it, and I did it anyway. And I did it with the help of the O'Hara scholars. Now, it doesn't say O'Hara scholars. He just says exceptional archaeologists. Why he doesn't say O'Hara, I'm not 100% sure. We all know that O'Hara was looking at, well, actually, do we know? I know we know that O'Hara was looking, or the world knows that O'Hara was looking into things that they shouldn't be. But it's entirely possible that it wasn't mentioned what. And Vegapunk may be like, you know what? I'm not going to name drop in case that puts a bad rep on them, specifically Robin, who we get a panning shot of as he's talking about that. Meanwhile, as Vegapunk's still talking, we get an extension of the clouds where the sun is. So where Saturn was, where he like dashed through and we're like, Nami, Robin, wherever it is, the clouds extend. And this is the work of Edison, who's basically trying to make sure that they can get off the clouds without destroying the boat. So he extended it so basically when they jump off, they land in the water, they don't smash on the island. And then back to Vegapunk again. It's very much like a back and forth of things happening. Like sometimes it'll be Vegapunk talking, other times we'll actually be seeing action within the story, and then back to Vegapunk talking. Sometimes it's a mixture of both. And Vegapunk talks about only knowing a small fragment of the Void Century. Now, the entire tale of the Void Century comes from Laugh-Tale, or at least the connecting pieces that you would need to put this story together come from Laugh-Tale. So that information O'Hara never had. The only people that still have that information would be the Roger Pirates. And of the ones that are still alive, basically Rayleigh and Crocus, that we know of. And he mentioned something that I talked about a few times in like earlier chapter discussions, which is that Vegapunk isn't going to say things with just speculation. He's only going to talk about facts. And that's what he says here. Like, there are only certain things I figured out. Anything that I don't have like factualized, I'm not going to talk about. As that's going on, we have Luffy still trying to fight Mercury. and he's just trying like punches. He's got like a gear 5, gear 3rd punch that still doesn't do anything. His hand's still hurting. And we don't have any full confirmation on what's happening here. Because normally we get a hockey clash of any kind of lightning. We don't see any hockey lightning from like Luffy's end or Mercury's end. So it makes you wonder what kind of attacks Luffy is using here. Now we kind of assume that Luffy just uses Aycock and, like Rio, all the advanced forms off rip. Honestly, not sure about that anymore. We got to see this fight go out a little bit longer. We got to see what allows Luffy to actually hurt him before we really can call something on that. But the finalized thing that Vegapunk talks about is that there was a person born 900 years ago in the Advanced Kingdom. And that person was Joy Boy. Now, Joy Boy, just like Nika, which is to indicate that there's at least 3 iterations of this Sun God epithet, where you have Sun God Nika, Joy Boy, and Luffy. But Joy Boy had the same abilities that Luffy does now, and that Nika was prophesized to have or thought to have. They realized that he was the first man to take the seas and be called a pirate. So he was the first pirate among pirates, which would explain why he has the biggest treasure. He was the first pirate. But that is a huge reveal in itself. Because you gotta think about that. Joy Boy was born in the Void Century, in the Ancient Kingdom. So he comes from this land that's supposed to be similar to Egghead as far as like advancements go. Which explains a lot of his actions, pretty much. You have Noah, the creation of that. You have the ancient weapons, which had to have been created in the Void Century and could very well have been products of the ancient civilization in some way, shape, or form. And you have him trying to bring them all together. So like, in a way you could say the Void Century was Joy Boy's era. And that is where the chapter ends. I mean, so much happened in this chapter alone. It's insane. We are on break next week. I do plan on dropping that vid here pretty soon so you can see kind of like the 2 sides of the debate, because this chapter right here kind of confirms some of the stuff we talked about in the collab. I want you guys to be able to see both. But this was a really solid chapter. Solid to come back off of. We had the break, came back to this. A bunch of good stuff in here too. The only thing that kind of hurts me a little bit is that, and this is, I knew this was gonna happen. We're really stretching out the reveals. Like a lot of Vegapunk talking here is less reveal, more kind of like fluff to stack up the reveals. I think we're gonna get like 1 or 2 more chapters of this before everything makes a cohesive story. Honestly, we might even go into flashback territory. But all in all, fantastic chapter. Moving on quickly to the seasonals. I think I talked about that chapter for a very long time. Longer than I normally do. But like I said, a lot of good stuff there. The seasonals. So I kind of ran down the list of what I was going to be watching as far as like this term of seasonals. And I think I have my like set list of watching, the stuff that's fallen off and the stuff I'm gonna wait on. So Mysterious Disappearances, it's staying. I actually started this new anime called Newgate, the Newgate. I'm enjoying that. So I think I might have that on the staying roster. Kaiju number 8 staying on there. Loser Ranger staying on there. Level 2 Cheat staying on there. Those are definites. I'm enjoying all those, having fun with all those. I'm gonna keep watching those. Windbreaker is still iffy to me. Like I'm not ready to let it go yet, but I'm not like itching for the next episode. I don't know if I ever talked about it, but I stopped watching Ninja Kamui. Honestly, I wasn't as interested in that initially, and just seeing how everyone is just upset with it, I don't even want to bother with it. I'm also cutting out Remonster for now, because I see some bad turns on that, and I'll probably still go through those. if they're not like popping, I can go through them anytime and not have to worry about spoilers and stuff. I can put those to the side, come back at a later time. Those won't go anywhere. I watched snippets of My Hero. I want to see Stars and Stripes. I'm gonna probably watch snippets of like the next couple episodes. I'm not gonna watch like full episodes of My Hero. Like, not only have I read it, so I know what's gonna happen, I'm not super interested in reading this part again because it's kind of mid. But you know, we good. Also started Unnamed Memory. Now, I'm not enraptured in it yet. I've only seen one episode, so it's still going to take some time, but I don't know if that one's making the roster or not. And then I also have Reincarnated Aristocrat on the docket. I saw that. That looked kind of cool. I'm going to check that out as well. So far, I think Mysterious Disappearances and Kaiju number 8 are my favorites of this season. Of the ones I've watched. Which actually brings me to Slime. I keep seeing things about basically they've just been having meetings for the past 5 episodes and nothing has really happened. Nothing has happened action-wise. I'm sure it's still like really solid story-wise. Like, it's probably building up to something really good for the story, but people are just, people want action. People want to see stuff happen. But I think that means I'm just going to wait on Slime like I was planning on it. I'll just binge it all at once, or at least binge it closer to the end. Otherwise, though, that's the list. I think I might knock one more off. If it's either going to be Windbreaker or Unnamed Memory. One of those might get knocked off the list. Otherwise, the rest are staying on. Might knock them off the list, to be honest. I'm not sure. I need episode 5 of Windbreaker to capture me. 5, 6, wherever we're on now. I need it to capture me pretty much in order for me to keep going with that. And then Unnamed Memory, I need to do something in these next few episodes that kind of captures my attention. Like, it's not bad, but it doesn't keep me engaged in the story so far. Again, I got to watch more episodes to judge it fairly, but this is how it is at this moment in time. But that's about it for the seasonal update. Like I said, I'm going to drop the collab so you guys have a few things to listen to, especially with the break coming up. I have a bunch of stuff. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe. Thank you for listening. Check out the podcast. Check out the main channel. I'll catch you guys in the next one.